I was really worried when the labs came back that I hadn't done enough and I was going to have to do something more extreme. I was actually looking up what are the treatments like if these won't come down, and you only get one. Like, there's not a lot you could do. So when they came back, that was a huge stress relief. I could worry less and have more of me to give to other people too. I'm like, all right, cool. It's really working. It's not just the scale going down. I am literally getting healthier, not just lighter.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, and this is the place where we talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to our genetic expression. So today we're going to start a bit of a journey here. This is something I haven't done yet. I've only been doing the podcast for a few months, but I've had several clients on here. I've had 4 or 5 clients on already, and they've all been women. They've all been diplomats. We've had a censor. But today I thought, let's bring on a guy. And the cool thing with this person is he has only been working with me for about 7 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks will be 8 weeks or so. So around that time. And I'm telling you, people, personalized health works. When you dial in to what is meant for your mind, your body, your soul, the results are phenomenal. So we're actually going to follow Erik on his journey working with me over the next few months. And so we figured we'd start here because we just got labs back and they are fucking phenomenal. And Erik has put in the work. So I met Erik. I was actually working with his wife, who's also phenomenal. And she was saying, I'd love for my husband to work with you, but everybody has to be in that place where they're ready to start a journey. And lo and behold, one day he contacts me for a consult. I remember I was coming off my paddleboard and it was pouring rain and I'm sitting in the car talking. I'm so ready. And I'm like, dude, let's get you going. His name is Erik Zotter. Erik is one of my big guys. He is 6'5" and giant. And he is the VP of People, Organization, and Communication for Ellab Inc. They're based out of, is it Norway?
Denmark. And our headquarters is in Denver in the US. Yep.
He is the father of 4 kids, a wonderful husband to his amazing wife, 45 years old. And welcome to the show and for sharing your story, Erik.
Thanks, Sue.
A little background here. So Erik, I'm going to have Erik tell his story. I'm going to be asking him what got him to start this journey, because the majority of my people I've seen throughout these years of coaching, the majority of people have been women, but I see more people coming that are males. And I think it's just the culture for females is they're more willing, feel more heard to go ask for help. And I think men really have to have both a safe space to really be themselves and not judged, because you have to get vulnerable to do this stuff. And I think they also need someone who's no bullshit to give you guys that tough love and just say, hey, here's what we're looking at. And so when Erik and I started, he started out at 314 pounds. And when I saw his labs, I told him that in my 8+ years of coaching, these are probably close to the worst labs I've seen.
Yeah. You said the thing that hit with me was I used to be a cop before I did this, and I felt like I was saving people's lives every day. And this is truly the first time I feel like I'm saving somebody's life by working with you on this. So
yeah, I knew. I remember saying that to you. I said, and this time I know that I literally feel like I'm saving a life here when I saw this. And we're going to go through his labs, some of them individually here, because it's so crazy. But I think, and I want you to answer this too, Erik. I mean, I think with men, it's
again, you have to find that kind of no BS, just give it to me kind of thing. A little bit of fluff here and there, but some TLC, but tough love at the same time. But someone where you feel safe enough to say, hey, here's what's going on, and to help you on this journey, understanding where you're coming from as an individual.
Yeah, I like to use the word agency with it because my wife, do this, do that, try this supplement. And I know it was coming from a place of love, but I wanted to own the process. And for me, there's a lot of, I need logic behind it. And you can't deny it when you're like, here's your genetics, here's your markers for this, here's your markers for that. And then you learn epigenetics is telling you what those are and how to change your lifestyle to make them express or not express, the good, the bad, the ugly. And there's no denying it. We'll get into this, but like part of it for me was drinking after work, a couple of tall boys, stuff you wouldn't think was that big of a deal. I was never going to hit that existential rock bottom like a lot of people hit. I'm going to get a DUI. I was never going to lose my job over any of this. But when I saw what it was doing to my health,
it's an eye opener.
Oh, your coping mechanism is a few beers after work. Guess how that's destroying you? And I saw those labs and I was like, oh crap, I gotta fix this. And then
it's real world when you see it on paper, isn't it? Even though, because you get so used to feeling this way that you don't feel great, but you really don't realize where you are. And I think it's interesting. How you said, like, my wife is telling me, we'll try this supplement and this, and coming from a place of love. But honestly, whether it's a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend, it doesn't matter. It's quote nagging, right? It's just get off my back. I know I need help. But yet again, it's when it comes from someone you love, sometimes it feels a little bit worse. And the cool thing is though, I had a husband before you, come on, from a client. And now then you, and I'm onboarding 2 more in the next couple of weeks. So it's, here come the hubbies seeing the wives changing, saying, all right, I want a piece of this now. I want to feel better. And you deserve to. And I think men, again, so many men think they have to go through life just thinking, I'm the provider. I have to be this way. And Erik, by the way, is a guardian. He's my first guardian on this show. Yeah, you are my first guardian on the show, I believe. And the guardians are, they're the predominant hormones for prolactin. And they are generous and giving, and they are the caretakers. So he's like the big teddy bear, and he's got 4 kids, and he has a wife, and he has this job, and the stress of that, of putting everybody else first. And we've talked about this, and we'll get more into that later. But all that stress of worrying about everybody else, this is the body. And if you guys have been listening to my podcast, you've heard Dr. Cam talk about it, me talk about it. This is the body that stores everybody else's stuff. So he's got his stuff, everybody else's stuff, because he wants to take care of everybody.
And I'm the size of a black bear, 314. That's a good size black bear.
I think you might scare a black bear if you come across it hiking.
Yeah, not really weird. I don't carry bear spray when I hike. I'll just take them on.
We're waiting to hear this journey because there's now a hiking monster created. We're going to get into this. You took a look. We got the first labs back, and we looked at this. And again, the weight was a starting weight of 314, which is way too much. And when we looked at some of these lab values, it was like, and I'm going to talk about the lab values as we get down the before and after. I'm not going to go into the befores on their own. But tell us first, what was it that finally made you say, I'm reaching out and I'm ready to make changes and do this? Because you didn't have the lab work at that time.
Yeah, it was I didn't have the lab work, but the 2 or 3 times I was into the doctor before I did lab work, my blood pressure was like 157 over 105, which is go to the emergency room high. It's really high. And they were like, get a blood pressure cuff, start taking it at home. And it was a little lower when I didn't have that white coat syndrome, but it was still 140 over 99. It was too high. And I'm not really fond of prescription medicines to make things better.
Yes.
And it was only, I think, my doctor sent me for lab work on July 31st, which was a bunch of stuff. And then I did more lab work with you. I can't remember which one of you, or it was like a combo of lab orders between yours and my primary cares. The big one for me was my GGT liver enzyme, which is an indication of inflammation and damage. More about it than I was, but I think they're looking for a range of 0 to 50 or 0 to 60, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Mine was 419. and you Google GGT to 419, it is, you probably have cirrhosis. You probably liver cancer is a possibility. You really fucked up. Like you did something bad. Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna get into labs because they're pretty phenomenal, the changes you've made. So you were drinking pretty much nightly. What other what was your food like? Do you feel tell us a bit about your lifestyle. How active were you back then?
I wasn't like, my wife was walking all the time. I think those couple of beers would make me lazy. I'd get my satiety from having those couple of things. Sometimes when I was like grabbing a couple of tall boys, I'd grab a king size baby Ruth too and wolf that down in the garage or sneak out for fast food. Like I just have an addictive personality. We'll talk about my genetics. I'm crappy at making dopamine. I'm crappy at absorbing it. So these are like cheap thrills is what they are, like little pot shots at satiety, like dopamining, I think they call that. So I just kept doing that instead of getting the real rushes of dopamine from feeling good about yourself or accomplishing something. I don't know if it's prolactin I'm searching for. That's like health type wise what I'm looking for. But now that I'm out of the woods, I feel a million times better than what a nice beer buzz ever made me feel like. And I don't fall asleep on the sofa at 7:30 either.
Yeah. Do you feel like it makes you more present as a husband and as a father and at work?
Yeah, I'm unstoppable is what I feel like now. Like I clean stuff just because I want something to do. Quicker with my decision making. I'm more confident in my decision making. I feel clear-headed and articulate. Like my mouth and brain are going the same speed. Usually one of them was ahead or behind the other one. I felt myself searching for words a lot. Where now I'm not putting on how I'm acting right now. This is how I am all day. I pretty much overwhelm people in the morning too. They're not ready for it because I'm up at 4:30 and I blast them when they come to the office.
Which is totally against your health type.
Yeah, I've been getting up at 4:30 for 20 years.
Sleeping at a little bit more. The night owl. He's in bed at 8:30, up at 4 because he has to start communicating with Europe early. So we're working with that too. We'll get into that. All right. So let's start with going over the labs. You hear how he's had to change some things. First of all, so you come on with me, we get the labs ordered. We get you onboarded, find out you're the guardian, get your profile, and was it holy shit? Look at these changes I have to make. I need veggies, a lot of veggies now to dial back the protein.
Yeah, I think we talked about it too because I'm hiking a lot and my basal metabolic rate's close to 3,000.
Oh, but now you're hiking. Explain it. Before you were not.
Yeah, it's intense. And I was really limited because if you listen to like your early podcasts with Cam, when I realized what I was doing, I'm trying to control inflammation. I'm trying to not beat my liver up. So it's just an intense amount of vegetables. It was an intense amount of vegetables. Then you're like, don't worry, we'll redo measurements. And you see all these foods come back in. I was like, yes, chicken, venison. Yes, let's eat things.
Yeah, because the measurement wise, all right. So let's look at this. So first thing started was one thing we wanted to make sure that you were checking in with everybody, doing the guardian thing to start being able to prioritize yourself. So making sure everybody around you was good so that you could start prioritizing yourself. Then you started moving. You started with the food a bit. Then you started moving and I took your wife Steph hiking and you're like, I think I want to go hike now.
I got real jealous. It looked awesome. The pictures looked awesome. I was like, I want to go, but I can't do 8 miles at elevation right now.
So we basically created a monster by going on this hike. And he starts texting me pictures. He's like, look where I was. And now Erik has gone from literally sedentary to within a week or two. How many miles are you putting on a week? Was it about 10 a week?
I was averaging 7 to 8 miles a day. I had taken a week off and I had gone hiking like 4 times that week. And then every night, my wife and I walk for 3 miles, which is like an hour. You gave me the goal of an hour. So I started going on the dog walks with her. And then I started tacking these 6-mile hikes on top of it. And the average just came right up real quick. I'd say in a work week, I probably average 5 miles a day. And that's 4 days of just walks and then 3 days of 6-mile hikes and 3-mile walks, like 9 miles.
Yep. And most of them are in the afternoon when it's best for you. And you know that when it's anything during the morning, you just take nice and chill. You don't do anything crazy, which is another thing. So the exercise changed, the diet went from, God, if I were to look back at your initial, has changed into it went lots of veggies. Again, we dialed back the protein. We had to bring these cortisol levels down, stop all the stress on this liver and kidneys, insulin. And like you were doing gluten-free Cobb salad with chicken, eggs. You were eating twice a day, and it all depended, like you said. Then you're drinking alcohol, which was reflective of your labs. Not hydrating enough. I mean, there were just so many
Lots
things.
of gluten, lots of dairy, cheese that releases some substance enzyme in your brain. I don't know. I was just chasing the dragon constantly, like whatever. Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's talk labs. So we said the weight wise, you started at 314 and now you're down to 281. And this was in the first 6 weeks, 33 pounds down.
Mm-hmm.
We did measurements. We redid measurements last week because with the PH 360. So this profile is always meeting you where you are. So we went back. There was his high blood pressure gone. It's freaking gone. So we got rid of that, took that out of the profile. And then it picked up on so many different inflammation things. It looks at neck size. That's a big one for diabetes. It saw joint inflammation coming down. Was it your rib cage or your waist went down over 5 inches?
Yeah. I think it was my rib cage. And that's like where you're measuring over your liver. Yeah.
Yep. That's where that looks for those measurements. We even saw like 1/2 inches in your knee, your elbow, like these joints were so freaking inflamed.
Yeah. The only things that didn't shrink were like my thighs and calves, which didn't have a ton of fat on them to begin with. And with as many miles that I put on, I probably built some muscle in there. That's about all.
Yeah. Yeah. That was it. Everything else, all the big markers, like the neck, was it an inch or 1/2 inch off your
I think it was 1.5 inches. It went from 18.5 or 19.1 to 17.5. I'd have to look. Yep.
Even the jaw.
Yep.
We don't know. Was some of that the beard that he shaved potentially?
Could have been. I couldn't get skin tight on there.
Been so much puffier.
Yeah.
And so even that came down. It was just like we were just blown away at the measurements. So then the labs came back. I think it was that night too that you texted me and was like, "Oh my God, look at this." And I think my response was, "Holy shit."
The first one was homocysteine because my doctor ordered it separately from the stuff from Dr. Amy's group.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't on whatever they were looking at. So she did homocysteine and histamine. And my homocysteine came down from 215 or what was it, 55 to, or no, it was 21.5 down to 12.5.
Down to 12 points. Yep. 12.5.
Yep. And that one worried me too when you realize how much that's about your heart. I was like, good Lord.
Inflammation.
I'm like on death's door here. I'm one of those people that would drop shoveling snow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what we said. Because I remember you saying to me, Sue, I don't know if I'd be here in 5 years. If I wouldn't be here talking to you. I said, I don't know that you'd last 5 years with the direction you were going.
Yep.
So let's talk about some of these then. So the homocysteine was one. And again, that's a big marker. It can be a big marker for inflammation when it's elevated like that. And I have issues with homocysteine with my MTHFR. You're at 100%, but that can still create more of a need for folate because you need to use more folate. And we also got you on some supplements as well as we did DNA. And you'll see how some of that's helped as well. So that could potentially be some things that lowered that homocysteine there. But glucose, let's start with the blood sugars. Well, we know the blood pressure dropped like a rock to where, aren't you even off the BP meds?
Yeah. I'm at like 120 over 79 now, which is, my face isn't glowing when I get to the top of the stairs. It's weird. Yeah.
So we have glucose started at 96. Now, of course, they say up to 100 is within range. Ideally, we want to be around 85. And 77. 77. And the insulin, which I know with Amy, we like to be around below 6 there. You went from 11.2, which was showing some insulin resistance there, 11.2 to 6.
Yep. Like pre-diabetic to normal.
Yep. So all you people out there saying, I'm going to eat this sugar, drink all this alcohol and not exercise, this is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And then let's see, vitamin D. So that was tank at 26.1. We want to be over 60, anywhere like 60 to 90, 100. Just in those 6 weeks, and we did get you on a vitamin D.
Yeah, 10,000 IU twice a day with K1 or K2 and some other stuff.
So in just those few weeks of that, we got you up at, you're at least at 37.7. So we see that it's tracking up. So that's now you had mentioned the GGT. There's that. And then when you look at ALT is under the CBC, that complete blood panel, or the comprehensive. So that one, ALT assesses liver damage. Liver damage or disease releases ALT into the blood. You were at, oh my God, 90, or you were at, let's see, at ALT, it was 93. And what is the range for that? It was, let's just say it was sky freaking high. And it has dropped down to 45, which is completely normal. And that one, again, an potential indicator of liver damage. So we know that things weren't going well there. When you look at other things that have to do potentially with the alcohol, MCV, MCH, that's mean corpuscular hemoglobin, both of those were high as well. You had the MCV, it was 100. You dropped that down 6 points. And both of those tend to track together, typically track together. And again, it can be indicative of alcohol abuse. So you see what alcohol, even like you say, I thought it was just having a couple beers a night.
Yeah, it wasn't anything somebody would have been shocked by. I feel like a lot of stressed out dudes or just average dads in their 40s would totally, I'd be like, that's what I do too. And you just realize how bad it is.
Look what this does. Right down to that. People don't realize that affects the blood sugar. So even by dumping that, going veggie heavy, lowering that protein for a bit. And we've talked about this with Dr. Cam on the last episode. It was episode 17. If you guys want to refer back to it, it's temporary. It's just temporary. And you see why this is temporary. And it's supposed to be typically around the 7 weeks or so, 8 weeks. And oh my God, you like in this range. So when we redid all the measurements, food started to come back in the panel.
Delicious foods.
And not, you're still going to be a veggie heavy person.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things you've had to adjust to, is just to be, veggies are your primary component of every meal, but now we can bring the animal proteins in, but you don't need these extraordinary amounts. And where it's adjusted, we also changed in the profile. Again, always meeting you where you are. We also changed your amount of activity because you went from sedentary to 10 plus hours a week.
Yeah, and to intense. Like, you don't realize how that threshold's not tough to get to. But if you're like, I know you don't look at so many metrics and stuff. You're like, stay away from the scale. Don't track macros. But just having something like an Apple Watch or Fitbit, what your BMR is, and then you see how many calories you're burning. That's why you're intense. Like I was at 4,500, 5,000 calories a day I was burning just between walking and BMR. That's nuts.
Yeah. And the thing when you're where you were, and you start this program, I told you to take it chill because it is lower. The calories are lower, the nutrient, all of this is lower because exercise will amp you up too. So all of this is meant to bring this body down, right? Bring these high cortisol levels down. The Guardian's going to be prone to higher levels of cortisol. You don't want to be doing intense exercise, but you were just out and you weren't doing any high climbing or anything like that. You're hiking in nature, but you weren't doing anything crazy.
Well, you're also, I feel like you're counterbalancing it with like the mental side of it. I'm in my happy place when I'm doing that too. So even if I'm trying really hard, it's not like I'm trying really hard to outrun a cop. I'm trying really hard to do something, a goal that I'm going to accomplish, which is a release of the hormones that I'm looking for anyways.
Yeah. So. That would be a kind of a funny visual though. If you were the criminal and I was the cop and you were trying to outrun me, it wouldn't take much.
I'm making like a half a block.
5'1" versus 6'5". That would have been comical. Okay. So we have liver enzymes, huge difference. liver enzymes are actually normal. I mean, you were probably on your way to fatty liver disease. I'm
Or
absolutely
was there and just
through there.
I was really worried when the labs came back that I hadn't done enough and I was going to have to do something more extreme. I was actually looking up what are the treatments like if these won't come down, and you only get one, like there's not a lot you could do. So when they came back, that was a huge stress relief. I could worry less and have more of me to give to other people too. I'm like, all right, cool. It's really working. It's not just the scale going down. I am literally getting healthier, not just lighter.
And wasn't that just a total guardian comment so I can be there for everybody else?
Yeah.
Like,
It was because last time I did this before, like long story short, I stopped drinking for 18 months and didn't change anything else. And I lost 60 pounds in 3 months or so, but I was macro tracking keto. I was so hangry and irritable. So all the other parts that aren't right for my personality, I finally looked like how I wanted to look in the mirror, but I couldn't have felt shittier if I had to. It was like taking a picture of the sunset to show off on Facebook versus truly enjoying it as a metaphor. Now I'm like, okay, as these things come into place, I'll actually be at a sustainable place, which I've always wanted to be. Just eat food that's satisfying at a volume that's satisfying and be at a healthy, maintained weight and actually put muscle on. Because I could never build muscle. I could just get strong. I couldn't build muscle. I could standing overhead press 5 sets of 5 of 225, but you'd look at my arms and be like, what is he like? Like, where's that strength coming from? I could deadlift 410, 5 sets of 5. No like big muscles on me. So I'm really looking forward to the hormones coming into where they're supposed to be, and then eating the protein that's right with that and actually seeing what my body type is supposed to do, which is hold on to muscle. I should be able to get big.
Should, as a male and as a guardian. Yeah. Now here's an interesting thing here. When we did your DNA, we saw that you have an increased conversion of testosterone to estrogen.
Yeah.
Which was expressing in your labs as well. You had low T at one time, right? The low testosterone.
Yeah, and I've been on like daily subcutaneous doses, and they increased it from 0.05 a day to 0.1. This is my doctor, and it only went from 600 to 660.
Yeah.
And now that everything's changed, you look on these new ones, and it went from 660 to 1200. But my free T actually went down, and my estrogen went up. So that's like this
there's
next
the conversion.
step with Dr. Amy's team to get that figured out.
Yep. So you did. So there is that increased conversion to estrogen. So you see that skewed ratio there. Yep. That's what makes sense. And also, when the testosterone goes up, a lot of times the SHBG, the sex hormone binding globulin, can go up, and yours did.
Yep, like 20 points. Yep.
That testosterone. The other thing, SHBG can be really influenced as well by alcohol. So 17% decrease in alcohol leads to lower SHBG. So that should be showing too. But again, you still have this increased conversion. And the other thing we found out, because people think this is only women that are looking at the estrogen. And you're not my only guy that's dealt with this, right? With this increased seeing the lower T, higher estrogen levels. You also have decreased elimination of the estrogen. And so it builds up. And what's interesting, God, I learned this years ago. My naturopath, we were having a conversation because I went out with a guy who told me he'd had breast cancer. And I knew he drank heavily prior. I think he still probably did, which is why I wouldn't date him. Honestly. And she said, alcohol is the biggest cause of breast cancer in men. And so when you have that combined with the lack of elimination of estrogen, it's like this double-edged sword here. So we also put you on supplements and cleared this with your doc and everything, but put you on the DIM and calcium deglucarate to help rid of those toxic estrogen metabolites. Yep. So that should help with levels too. So it's just such a complex process. And I'm sorry, but again, when someone says, I can do 3 DNA snips and tell you everything that's wrong with you, I call bullshit, because look at everything that we've seen with you and how so much of this has come around genetically. The other thing we found out with you genetically was that you don't process saturated fats, poor response to saturated fats. And here's the other one, ApoE34. So you have the increased risk for the Alzheimer's. saturated fats, which you were eating a lot of, alcohol, big enemy, think brain. Alcohol is the worst thing for the brain. So here you were, like, all of these things you're doing and no exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. All of this was putting that at a higher risk to express. And that's one you definitely don't want to express. You want to have all your wits about you when your children are getting married and all this fun kind of stuff, and you're enjoying your golden years with your lovely wife. So really, like I said, I truly believe it's like saving lives, just in a different way. It's helping you save yourself, right?
Yeah.
By understanding what you need. So we had the Alzheimer's, you just don't do well. You're one of my few that comes up as less effective processing overall of dietary fats. So here, when you're doing the keto and the high saturated fat, all of these things were just, even though you were skinny or thin or wherever you want to be, just taking you away from where your body needed to be. So I'm excited to see working with this estrogen stuff, because your testosterone level looks freaking fantastic. How to get this free testosterone in a good level so that you can start building the muscle. And you need some estrogen.
Yeah, that and my thyroid stuff. I can't wait for those to get straightened out. I know it's not like the snap of the finger. There was a lot of inflammation that disappeared out of me. So there were like huge gains. I also plateaued for 2 or 3 weeks. I lost 25 pounds really quickly and then just plateaued, and I was getting frustrated.
It's a little tweaking.
And then all of a sudden, like almost 10 more pounds fell off.
Yeah.
8 more pounds fell off. And I try not to weigh myself super often. I'm just noticing like pants that I used to have to squeeze on now fall off. And I'm a size down in shirts, like not even filling out a 2X when I was porking up a 3X. The wardrobe's opening back up.
Wow. And when you talk about thyroid, so yeah, your reverse T3 was high to start with, 18.5. It's still elevated at 15.4. But even in those 6 weeks, even your reverse T3 came down. And could that be, I don't know, did you have any issues with conversion? Yep, low conversion, T4 to T3. So we'll get that figured out, because your free T3 actually stayed at 2.8. Your free T3 came up a little bit, like 0.2 points or something like that. But your reverse T3, and that's also stress on the body, can play a part there. So both of those, that's a good sign that started to drop a little bit.
Yeah.
So when you get those things under control, that'll be great. Another one was your B12.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when you look at that MCV and MCH, we had the alcohol potentially playing a part, but it can also be folate and B12 deficiencies. You were only at 392.
I wasn't taking any supplements, not even a multivitamin. I was just like,
and you were
whatever.
Still protein.
Yep.
You're eating animal protein. So you went up in these 6 weeks of, this is what I find so crazy. We put you on a B complex.
Yeah, I just take B12 and then I get the rest of my B complex from my Multigenics.
From the multi. Yep. Multi and B12. And you went to 664. So that was a nice jump up into at least a good level. And that'll keep that. But that was without increasing animal protein. So just think, like, now you're going to have that coming back in at a normal level for you, which will be great. So we're off blood pressure meds. Your energy, like you said, is through the roof. And then last time we started talking about work, and you're even looking like you've had epiphanies there about how you could take some stress off. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, it's just me leading HR and IT. That's what people organizing communication are. And I don't have any real field generals, right? I'm helping to lead direction on a global level, and then having to come back and get completely in the weeds to drive everything to completion. So I'm trying to set some goals to take my HR specialist in Denver, move her up to HR manager, bring another person onto the team and let her manage that, so I can get the direction of what we're going to do and hand it to somebody and be like, manage the completion of this and manage these other people in their careers. That's what's going to set it apart. Also, just feeling healthier and faster and sharper. Stuff that used to feel stressful doesn't feel stressful because I'm not procrastinating at all anymore. I'm just like crushing through it it's easier than I thought it was. I don't have to take the easy cop out, and instead of working harder, be like, I'll just have a couple of beers when I get home and forget about it. Wake up at 2:00 in the morning feeling guilty about what I did, can't get back to sleep. It was like this cycle of stuff crushing me. And then you had done a podcast with Kate King and the Radiant Life Project. And I'm just, as soon as I heard that, I was like, I want to work with her. That sounds really interesting. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know why I was doing all this stuff in the first place, right? Why am I acting like this? I don't have any acute mental health issues, but why am I doing this? And it had a lot to do with my upbringing and self-worth and not ever feeling good enough. So being able to work with her, and then you sign a HIPAA document and she can communicate with you. So she's learning the epigenetic side, and then being able to support the physical and dietary changes with the right mental support, which I thought was really cool. Like, my first real interaction was that tree I drew with the sunset, and it's
It's
this is
amazing.
this is how you see yourself. I'm sitting there with chalk pastels like a kindergartner, drawing this tree and everything, and then getting the read back on that is really similar to getting a read back on pH 360, just from the mental level. Like, why is there no leaves on this tree? Where's the ground? Why did you fill in the background? There was all these things. So I feel like I have this awesome team of people between you and Kate, and my primary care physician is like partially homeopathic. She was raised in China, but learns Western medicine. She eats this up. This is the future of medicine. And it's funny because
Personalized
I
health.
work with all females, which for me, I feel more vulnerable with females. Like, I'm not judged as much talking to a guy, and it's just me. So I feel like I just had this great team of people. And now the communication changes between my wife, because stuff that used to annoy me, like constantly talking about exercise and supplements and body types, now I eat that up. And so my marriage feels better. Like, all these things are like falling into place, that it just feels really good.
Yeah. And so talk about that a little bit, because again, like I said, I've got husbands coming on, and if they're listening to this newly coming on here, or some that are thinking about it, partners, whatever. What do you feel are the benefits of doing this with a partner or a spouse?
This in particular, I've seen her struggle with her own body image issues and stuff, and try to find the right solution for years, to a point where I was like, all right, whatever she's doing, just let her do it. Now I understand what's happening, and I believe in it too. So it doesn't feel like smoke and mirrors and just something I need to go along with. These are hard facts. Here's your genetics. This is your blood panel. This is how we deal with it. This is how pH 360 takes that in. I don't know. It's easy to communicate on. It doesn't feel hokey, and I'm supporting like doctor shopping kind of situation.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
But how is it relationship wise? Do you find that it's beneficial? It's been beneficial with both of you guys doing it to help understand each other better?
It does. And we have a lot of crossovers. Like, she can't have cruciferous vegetables, so we just don't have that together, but we can eat a lot of fish together and a lot of the other vegetables together, which makes it easier than cooking 3 different dinners instead of just 2 different with kids and everything.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's made both of you, does it make you more efficient with your parenting, do you think, to both be on these better levels and happy and just feeling more thriving and energetic? Do the kids notice anything?
Yeah, the kids do, because the little kids in particular, they're not like, they can't drive yet, they can't do anything. So they're like, oh, dad's actually doing fun stuff. Like, he's throwing passes at football practice. And I take them on shorter hikes that are, I do 3-milers with them, and they eat it right up. So Everett, our little boy, like, he's too hooked on Fortnite, but he'll not play it and come for a hike. He's just loud in the woods. That's his only issue. So,
and tell the audience how old your kids are.
Everett's 8. He's our only boy. And Jordan's 10. She's about to turn 11 at the end of November. Taylor's our second oldest girl. She'll be 16 on Saturday. And Hannah is 17. She turned in July. Yep.
So you got a couple older ones and a couple younger ones. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people that can relate to that as well. And it's been fun because I'll get text messages from Erik with hiking pictures all the time. Sometimes it's got the kids in there. And there's just a different, like, when we first started, you were pretty wired. You were like, blah, 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 blah. And just so many things were just not good. And everything I get from you now are all these just amazing little epiphanies or beautiful hiking pictures of just, look at me today. And there's just there's a joy about you that wasn't there before.
I like to share experiences. It was something we talked about early and something I talked about with Kate. Like, I don't know why I can't enjoy stuff by myself, but I actually am getting there. I do end up sharing stuff, and those are kind of like wish you were here type
Yeah,
things
yeah.
too, because it is nice to share stuff. But I also like really enjoy just taking slow hikes and taking pictures of everything because I probably annoy people who are out there straight up doing it for
Yeah,
fitness too.
yeah, I do too. It's in your profile about the social. The Guardian, what's the number one priority? Do you remember?
Number one priority, making sure everybody's okay.
Social.
Oh,
Social.
okay.
So you're better doing everything with everybody.
Mhm.
You're better doing activities with people and sharing meals with people. So that is just part of your biology to be wanting to do that.
Yeah,
So
I don't like being with a lot of people. I like being with one person that I can more deeply connect beyond talking in the line at the bank. I need to get past small talk pretty quickly or I just get irritated. Yep.
Yep. That is again, that's you in flow. That's you in your Guardian flow. I love
We're
it.
flowing right now.
We're
You
flowing.
feel it?
I feel it. He sent me a picture the one day of the Via Ferrata. He said, "Let's go do this." I'm like, "Dude, let's do it." And I said, "Dude, I have a fear of heights to be hanging off that mountain." He said, "I don't care, we're going." So that happen next year. Like I said, I'm creating monsters here, but it's a wonderful monster to be creating to just see you starting to get in your flow. And when we talked last time about, like I said, about some changes with work, because you just were worrying about everybody all the time. And that was a hindrance to where you couldn't do your stuff. And to be able to delegate that part of it to somebody else and know that they're taken care of, you said was just would be such a change. And you're working on that. So it's just such an awesome process. And I just give you kudos because there's some people take a little bit longer. Everyone's on their own journey. So I don't want anybody comparing and saying, "Oh my God, I need to do this in 6 weeks." It is a journey. And so I have some people that have had different epiphanies along the way and they're going to take a little bit longer.
Mhm.
And others, it just happens a little bit quicker, but it doesn't shorten your journey any, right? You're just having different results at different times within this journey. And I think, again, you just have to be where you are. But our main point here is personalized health. It freaking works.
Yeah.
If you follow it.
You're also like, you can't set yourself up for only wanting certain epiphanies. I got hung up on weight, but you got to look at like, you're going to get healthier overall. Blood markers are epiphanies. Understanding your DNA is epiphanies. Communication with your spouse and kids are epiphanies. It's not all about looking like somebody on the cover of Men's Health, right? I'm 45. I kicked my own ass for years. I've had 9 surgeries, I don't know, 9 concussions, 23 broken bones. Like the big thing with Kate is like love and gratitude. You got to thank this vessel that you're in, that it just got you through another day and got you to the top of that mountain. Like take smaller steps, I would say. You see that there's a funny meme on Facebook. It was like, the best way to get into hiking shape is to be in your mid to late 20s. Like that ship sailed. But I think I can get my health back to that point and get my age based on my health data way down below 45.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with age, and I can tell you that. I'm going to be 59 2 weeks from today.
Huh.
And I'm in phenomenal shape. And there's nobody going to tell me that age is going to slow you unless you allow it. It all comes down to the choices you're making. Because I don't want to forget this. We totally forgot your lipid markers.
Huh.
And you guys have to hear these because these were also, where the heck? Here we go. Your total cholesterol. Now, again, most people, we don't worry so much about higher cholesterol. You need it to feed your brain, your organs, your hormones, everything. But you were at 242. Ideally, they say under 200. But some people, again, it just depends. And we did the deep dive with you. But you had the total cholesterol originally was 242. In those 6 weeks, it dropped to 189. Now, the other thing that dropped, though, your HDL did drop from 74, which was good, really good, down to 47, which is too low. So we know we have to amp up things like, but we had you, it was a very specific protocol you were on to bring down inflammation.
Yeah,
So
it's like fish
that's
and
all
veggies.
that stuff's dialed back in. Can be dialed back in. I amp up the olive oil. Now, the LDL, let me see, LDL itself. So that's that's the cholesterol we call the bad cholesterol. That was initially 141, dropped down to 127. So that was a nice drop. So the second labs, we didn't have control over, and they did not run the particle sizes the second time. So that we don't have the comparison of. We just have the cholesterol has dropped significantly. And then there's the other lipid, apolipoprotein B. We want that under 90. This is a big one for cardiovascular risk. And you were 124. 100 to 130 is high risk. And they did not test this the second time, but I guarantee you we're going to test this one next time because I know this has dropped down. The LDL particles that we tested initially, so I can't wait to see what these are going to be. You were high risk with all your lipids, like significantly high risk. Everything was just going the wrong way. So the fact that the cholesterol itself is down that many points, all of these, I guarantee you, have dropped down. So we'll have that on the next podcast. When you next labs, we'll talk about those then. Okay. And what were you saying about the aortic?
Yeah, I got a congenital thing where my carotid artery, as it comes up into my brain, like dissects and comes back together, like going around a roundabout. So instead of it being 4 lanes that flows blood, it's 2 sets of 2 lanes. And my hemoglobin was high. The cell size was big. The lipid particles were big. My ferritin was high. My doctor's, you have thick blood, which is making my VO2 max awful too, like really on the low end. Basically, I had to do therapeutic bloodletting, which is like
your
donating
ferritin
blood
was
more.
633.
That's some serious iron blood. Yeah. It's really thick blood. Yep. But you can only give blood every 4 or 5 weeks. You can't do it quite enough. It only drops a couple of points when you do that stuff.
And guess what? You're down to 288 in 6 weeks, from 633 to 288.
It's a big marker of inflammation, isn't it? Ferritin. I don't know why you'd have such high iron in your blood, but
I don't remember if you were predisposed to that genetically. Let's see if we see anything here. Increased overload risk. So that was a genetic thing.
It's definitely overloading it.
Predisposed. Yeah. So you're going to have to watch. So again, that super high protein, all that probably it's just not ideal for your body. Right. And this has just come through in all of your stuff. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. No, I think we covered pretty much everything here. Yeah. It's just significant with the measurements, and you were really hooked on the weight and really frustrated, which was creating more stress for you. You're like, Sue, I'm only at 23 pounds. And I'm like, dude, 23 pounds at that point, I think it was like 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's like a pound a day. Something around there.
I just say you're not allowed to weigh for like a month. I'll do that to people. Stop stressing about it. Stay off the scale. Let's redo the measurements. And that's when your mind was blown, seeing the significant changes in your body composition and how inflammation had gone down, and then all these foods started coming back. And that's what I want people to know, that stuff's temporary. Like when you put the work in, it makes a difference. And you're just a great example to show this. I think a great example on your commitment to wanting to make changes and to just dive deeper and understand the whys.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not like me, an activator, a little bit about the why, but I just want to do it. Right. But you want to know more, and you're doing that. And I just commend you so much on just taking all the action you've been taking and just creating this just richer, happier life for yourself, because it's going to pay off in dividends.
Thanks. What I would say to all the guys out there is, this is what it feels like when you talk to Sue. Like, she's making a podcast out of this, but this could have been any one of our conversations that we've ever had on the phone. You know what I mean? Like, there's no script we're running through. I know she's got ideas and like bits and pieces she wants to talk about, but this is how it feels like. And then going through and watching some of those other podcasts, you probably don't need every single one of those things, but a lot of that stuff is vetted. It's not like she makes money off of any of that stuff. That was a key thing for me, is like, this isn't some designer thing where you're constantly like buying Sue Robbins supplements. She's, hey, this works good. You want to go to Natural Grocers and buy it there because it's cheaper? Knock yourself out. I don't know. It's worth it to check it out. And this is pretty much what it's going to feel like talking to her.
Yeah, why do you think the podcast is raw, real, relatable? Because this is how we roll.
Mhm.
It's real life and the seriousness of things in real life. And I think your health, we like to joke around and laugh about things, but like when I saw your first set of labs, realize that this is serious and this is real life. And if you don't make changes, there's going to be repercussions. And the choices I see people making out there, I don't judge. We're all where we're supposed to be. Did I always make the best choices? Oh, hell no. Why do you think why do you think I have all the shit that I deal with? Because I made some crappy choices when I was younger and even when I was older, but I didn't. Some of it I knew. I started drinking at an early age. Some of it I knew, some of it I didn't. So often we are making decisions based on information we're getting from all other people that really just know what's good for them or think they do or hear it on something. And it really comes down to what's right for.
Yeah, everything else is too generalized. You think, I'm going to go to the gym and get huge. I need to take whey protein supplements and creatine and all this stuff. Just go run a blood panel. It doesn't even cost a lot of money to just do it yourself and find this out. And you realize, I actually don't need all that. And then learning your genetics is another big part of realizing I don't process protein all that well, and I actually hold on to muscle really well. I need just enough to fuel what I'm doing at that moment. I don't need a ton of saturated fat. Some of it's difficult, especially a lot of everything. We're all creatures of habit, so it's sometimes tough to shift. But as you keep getting those epiphanies, things are going to get better and better. I would just say you owe it to yourself. If you even looked at me when I was the biggest I was, you wouldn't look at him and be like, that dude's morbidly obese. He looks like he's going to die, until you get blood work back and you're like, oh shit. Because I looked relatively proportionate for how tall I was. Most tall guys are like so freaking lanky. You can't believe they weigh 185 pounds. You're like wearing the right clothes and stuff. I was a 44-inch waist and 54-inch chest and all this stuff. I just looked like a big dude.
Dude. Yep.
But I was like ready to freaking keel over is what was really going on. Yep.
You're a ticking time bomb down the road there.
Yep.
That's the truth of it. It just wasn't good. But the changes, like again, I just glanced down again, like insulin 11.2 down to 6, 96 to 77 and glucose. And again, that's not going, what do you hear for Guardians? You probably would have been told you need to go low carb. You need to go low carb, cut all that. And you did, in fact, the opposite is what the PH recommended because of this Guardian health type and the different things that your body was experiencing, and took you down to high veggie, some fruits, low animal protein, low protein for just a short period of time. And it brought these things back into play. And now you're working it back. And it's the generic is just wrecking people. That's why I say genetics, not generic. Genetics, not generics. Oh my God. This has totally been a Monday. But no, you're just a pleasure to work with. And I'm so grateful that you were ready when you were ready and took the reins and just ran with it. And you are going to be the Guardian health type. Routine is good. A little bit harder to make changes, but yet you're making them. And even though you were resistant to some, you went ahead and you just took each step to make those changes. And it's just paying off in dividends for you and your family. So I'm just super proud of you. And
Thanks.
And we're going to have you back on after the next set of labs and just keep seeing updates and where you're going with this. And I think you're my first one to follow on a journey. And I think it's going to be really fun for people to say, like, what's going on with Erik now? Let me turn back to Erik's.
I want to do one with Kate. Like, I want like my physical coach and my mental coach together and give me the quiz on there. Because you
Yeah.
both were like, you're presenting atypical, right? Because I do what Sue does with PH360 at my job for hiring with a program called Predictive Index. And it's showing me like high type A, extremely extroverted, needs tons of variety and all this stuff. And it's that high A is only coming from the fact that I have nobody else to delegate 90% of my tasks to. And that's in the last time we talked. What are you doing about that? I want to try to get my specialist promoted up so I can make that one big delegation and just bring that high A down, and then just be a promoter of my team and help guide the direction of the company without having to turn all the wrenches too. And work from 4:30 to 5, 13 hours every day.
Oh God. And that the extrovert part, that's part of how you're created again. But it wasn't even so much that part, whether it's extrovert or it was this hard driven up at it, gotta go, which is just like, this is taking you out of flow. You're out of flow here, because you should have that easier start, little gentler start to the morning, right? And that's what you're starting to work towards.
Yeah. But it was ride or die. This company was ride or die. It was really tiny when we started. We were just selling and renting equipment. I moved into this role and we had to build an engineering team. I hired 75 people in 18 months, personally hired them, had to learn each of the hiring managers, their culture, what fit for them. That is Guardian, Papa Bear. I know what's good for you. So that like heavy pre-screening and giving them free cream of the crop candidates, not here's a bunch of resumes that match job descriptions. They were highly vetted. Like they didn't know what choice. They're like, I wish we had more work. I want to hire all 3 of them. So that felt good, but not when you're hiring 13 people at the same time, doing open enrollment for benefits, merging with 3 companies at the same time. It was just coming at me from all directions. And got to be able to trust people and delegate and help grow them too, because that's going to make them feel closer. I'm going to nurture them. I'm not a glory hound. I'd love to see somebody else succeed and be like, fucking way to go, man. Look at you. You take the glory. Yep.
Now you see how I am with you. Fucking way to go, man. Take way to go, man, and run with it. I'm like, this is my little birdie. And my little nest is like gonna be
big birdie
at some point. But no, I'm so grateful you were willing to come on and talk about this and be so open and honest. And hopefully, guys, if you're listening, don't be afraid to come forward. You need help too.
I'll talk to him personally if that's helpful. Like I have a busy schedule, but I can make some time. Or if you want to do a group and have me talk to the group and Q&A it with you, like I could do that too. Whatever you want.
Yeah, I love it. And I also connect people. I connected your wife with another female who's in the same type of position she's in. I think about that. This is my connector self, right? The activator connector here. I'm always like, I think this person would jive with this person. And I have another person, one of the husbands coming on that I think you would gel with as well, because I think it's not just about me being here for you, and then I've got Mindy. Mindy just started. We got her. She's got someone coming on to work with her. And I think it's just a great team here. And we have our Facebook group. We can all communicate in there, and it's just awesome support. And anytime I bring a new one in, it's always the Guardians are the first ones to say, hey, welcome. But I just think it's important for men to realize that you being healthy and making the right choices, it's not a weakness to say, hey, I need some help here and I want to feel better. You also deserve to feel fantastic, right? Happy wife, happy life, but it needs to be a happy hubby too, or a happy partner, or just even if you're single, it doesn't matter. Hey, if you're out there single and looking, right? I'm one of you. We need to be putting our best self forward. And if you're looking for someone to make you happy, make you feel better, it's not going to come from there. You have to be out there putting your best self, because it's coming from inside. And like you said, it was for you. It is for everybody. It's that self-worth. And if you feel like shit, you're not putting your best self out there. Yeah. Right? Because if you feel like shit, then you're going to feel like shit mentally as well as physically. So it's the whole package. And I think you've just given a fantastic example for men, career-driven men, that yes, you can make the time to do this and make these changes, and it pays forward.
I think something we just totally took for granted is you could think you're in the best physical shape of your life and be doing it all wrong and be putting way too much effort in the wrong places. I remember Cam talking about people who are geared like me working out in the morning is literally worse than not working out
And
for
not working
my
out at all.
genetic type. I'm doing more damage and stressing my body more than
Yep.
not working out, which is
Yep.
sometimes tough to swallow. It is tough for me with supposing to sleep till 7. I can't sleep till 7. I have to be at work at 6, and I like to be at work at 6, but that does mean I go to bed at 8:30 or 9 o'clock
Yeah.
too. So I really just take that whole pie chart and just rotate it back 3 hours, because
Yep.
it's not like it moves along with when the sun comes up and down. Ideally, that's what you'd be doing, right? If you
Ideally.
really change
Mhm.
that chart, it would be like you should be up an hour before sunlight or right at sunrise. That's probably what we're all genetically predisposed to, is get up at dawn so you can get out there and get the animals while they're still feeding if you're
Some,
but
but if you listen to some of the ones Anne's talked about, where you have, and I think it was the last one in intimacy, we talked about it, where you have your guardians were like, they're the ones that stayed back and took care of everybody. You had us, like the activators, not, we're out there doing the action things. So we all genetically have had our things
I
throughout.
gotcha. So somebody had to hold down the fort. Somebody was looking for danger. Somebody else was running the animal down. Yeah. Yeah. It connects with a lot of past research that I've done. This is the first thing that truly feels right. And we got so into keto with the program that we were on. And then we were watching the health coach, who's supposed to be this amazing person, just shrink to the point of anorexia. And I'm like, how is this person a good example for anybody that's supposed to be doing this? There's no way anybody should physically be like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was nuts. And when I was doing keto, I wasn't doing high fat. I was doing 200 grams of protein, 30 grams of fat, and 10 grams of total carbs. And
Oh, wow.
I don't think I could possibly have been more miserable.
Mm-mm.
Occasionally we do the fat bomb and make
Yeah.
allulose ice cream, right, with heavy
Yep.
cream and stuff, and
Yep.
just pig out on that. But the rest of the time, I'm literally eating like I'm surviving on whatever reindeer I can gather and a couple of berries here and there. Do you know how little amount of carbs 10 grams total is? There's 6 grams total in a quarter cup of shelled peanuts. 30 grams of fat is
Yeah.
just enough to make hormones. And it's
Yeah,
okay.
barely.
Well, statistically, it's like on paper, this works, but try doing it for a while. And that's
Yeah.
when I went from 275 down to 209, back up to 290, down to 236, back up to 314. And now I'm finally doing this in a way that I understand what's making it happen. And it's only going to get better. The foods I can eat are going to increase, and it'll be sustainable and something I can actually do. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's you.
yeah,
It's
anybody can do something for
nutrients that
30
you need.
days.
And it's
So-
not keto, paleo, vegan. It's none of that. It's all, what does Erik need? What are the nutrient dense things Erik needs? What are the things Erik needs to feed himself in the mental capacity, where social,
Mhm.
just a huge component for you. And then you've got food, the movement. So all of these things have been key, and you're seeing how they all go together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been fantastic. So we'll have you on again when the next set of labs come back, or the next cool thing happens where we want to check in. We'll try to do this like every few months with you. I think will be perfect, every couple of months. And thank you so much for just being vulnerable and open and having a fantastic conversation that I think men especially are going to be able to relate to, and hopefully we can save some more.
Sure. Can we call it building a better Zotter? I thought that.
I love it. Thank you so much, my friend. If you haven't seen my video that I put out, I brought on another coach to help out. We're able to do the pH 360 on its own with her now, because I'm only doing the pH with the genetics. She is a pH 360 specialist, so she's going to be able to coach you if you want to do just pH 360. I also can do DNA one and done on its own. So there's so many things that we're offering here in my business in Healthy Awakening to help you reach your goals and have your best health. But the thing is, whether it's me or you work with somebody else, please get some help. You don't need to feel like crap and feel that this is all that life has to offer. Every one of us deserves to live their happiest, healthiest, fullest, best quality of life. So that being said, you can always reach out to me. My consults are always free. And if you, like Erik has offered up, if you want to have a chat with him, we can connect you. Thank you so much for listening. Make it a great day and get out there and be your most authentic self. Thank you. And share this. Please, please share this with a man or even a woman that this might help. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who would find the information useful. Also, if you could leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts, it'll help the information get out to others. You can check out my podcast site and sign up for my newsletter for updates and upcoming shows, and that link is in the show notes below. And go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.